I bought the new M4 iPad Pro, the thinnest tablet in the world and Apple's latest device. And in this video, we are going to unbox it and try it out in the real world to see if it's actually worth the money and if you should buy one. Right, so we just got back from the Apple store. We've got everything we need. We've got all the accessories, the iPad. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up. Now, something quite cool that we found out in the Apple store is actually this year for the new Pencil Pro, we've got a load of custom artwork on the box. Don't know if you hold on to the boxes or whether you recycle those, but it's a nice little addition that you can have if you're a bit of a collector. Has that smell, like, you know what I mean? Like apple. Not like an actual apple, but like that Apple store smell. So we've got the iPad set up, and this time around I'm excited to see how useful an iPad actually is as a potential laptop replacement. Now, in prior iPad Pro models, I personally haven't felt them to be too functional or useful in comparison to my laptop. I would always have to take both devices with me if I was going somewhere for an extended period of time. And that's because when they first put the M1 chip inside of the M1 iPad Pro back 2021, iPadOS, in my opinion, just wasn't really good enough. It was just a tablet operating system, and also the apps within there weren't pro enough to leverage the desktop processor that was present within the tablet. This time, probably 2-3 years later, we've now obviously got a more insane M4 chip inside of here, so performance is going to be off the charts. But during that time frame, we've seen a lot of new applications released, including DaVinci Resolve, which operates and looks pretty much identical to the one that I personally use on my MacBook and desktop PCs when I edit all of my videos. But also we have obviously Final Cut Pro for the iPad that has a whole bunch of features that are comparable to the MacBook version, but also exclusive features for the iPad only version that's quite unique and useful. But in terms of other applications from a less professional standpoint, but even casual, we've also got full console games available on the iPad now, because of course, I think the M1 iPad Pro was more powerful than a PS4, so it was capable of playing technically PlayStation 4 games in a portable form factor as small as this. So we've got like Alien Isolation, which has been one that is available when the M2 launched, and obviously in a couple weeks time from the launch of this iPad, there'll be Assassin's Creed Mirage coming, which is a next generation game that recently launched on PS5 and also Xbox Series X. So that department has massively improved in the last couple of years, and I think it's making iPadOS a little bit more useful. And also the fact you can now dock this with a Thunderbolt display does allow you to have that dual functionality and use those apps even in a more traditional desktop setup. You can already see the screen brightness difference. Obviously this is an OLED panel on the new iPad, and it's very, very bright. It's like one of the world's best displays, as Apple always like to claim. But obviously inside of here I've just got that, is it mini LED, I think, inside of the... It's just an M1 Pro MacBook, so it's a pretty old one. But I can instantly see, like, I'm struggling to actually see what my video is showing on there, whereas this on just the apps is insanely bright. And that's on full brightness, and this is on full brightness. And there's a huge difference. This almost looks like it's on 25% compared to the iPad. So this will be way more useful for travel. One thing I'm definitely noticing, obviously this year's iPad's thinner. It's the thinnest iPad ever made. That's noticeable, I would say. But more specifically, the weight of this iPad is drastically reduced. Now, of course, I predominantly have used the 13-inch, which is always going to be heavier. And it was almost like just as heavy as a laptop, just without the functionality. Whereas this is 11-inch. Just tuck it under the arm, feels comfy. It's very, very thin. You got the new Magic case as well to complement it. And overall, it just feels like a much more nimble package as a whole, which I think a tablet should really be. Honestly, the brightness on this screen has to be the best brightness I have ever seen on like a portable display. The OLED colors are great. There's no blooming anymore like with the mini LED. Perfect. That's the only word to describe the screen. Perfect. Right, so we've got a little bit of a weird glitch here. We've got DaVinci Resolve working, but when we try and import footage, it'll start importing it and then it'll crash for like about 3 seconds. And then it duplicates the drive. So right now it says we've got 2 4TB extreme drives selected when really we only have one connected to the iPad. So we'll reconnect it. I'll unplug it and plug it in again. I'll close the app out, go to DaVinci, and now it'll say we have 3 SSD drives connected. The only workaround that we've found is to basically add 1 clip at a time. If we try and select all and add a load of clips, it crashes, which is obviously impractical because if you've got a full shoot day, you're gonna have hundreds of clips. So we've managed to import 6 individually. There are some slight variations in the chipset that you do get depending on which model that you choose. If you go for the 256 or 512GB models, this will come with a 9-core CPU and also a 10-core GPU. But if you upgrade to the 1TB or 2TB models, you'll get upgraded to a 10-core CPU and also 10-core GPU. There are also some differences in the RAM allocation on these models. The cheaper models only come with 8GB of RAM, and 1TB and above come with 16GB of RAM. Another thing I also found out while shopping in the Apple Store was the Nanotexture display option is only available on the 1TB or 2TB models, which was a little bit disappointing because seeing this in person, it did help reduce any glare or reflections on the screen, which would help its performance outside in the sunshine. Some further enhancements that the M4 chipset brings is now the support for ray tracing on the iPad for the first ever time. So updates to existing games and also future game releases coming to the tablets will obviously have much greater visual fidelity on this model. So obviously an iPad and a tablet is all about portable working. So you can take it into an environment, don't have to be carrying too much. Like right now, I haven't even got a backpack. Normally, if I want to take my laptop, I need my backpack with all my accessories, my power cables, etc. But the iPad introduces a new modern way of working with so many different and unique ways that you can leverage this device. You can use it for note-taking with the Apple Pencil, and because it's touchscreen, you can easily zoom in and out using your hands, making it very engaging if you're working in a group or doing a presentation around a coffee table, for example, in a meeting. It also has the ability to take photographs with the camera at the rear, although they have removed one of the cameras from the previous models. But just like Apple didn't in their keynote presentation, let's not talk about that. Then of course, if you do want to use it in a more traditional manner like a laptop, you can attach it to a keyboard case. So obviously, let's not forget about the gaming part of this device. Obviously, once you're done with all of your productivity stuff for the day, the new M4 chip is going to give you the best gaming performance on the latest iPads. Now, of course, the iPads were already pretty powerful when it came to like the M1s, which is the last time I sort of tested it. But now we've obviously got way more ported games over directly from console, including like Alien Isolation, Minecraft, Diablo, I believe. But of course, Assassin's Creed Mirage is going to be dropping in just a couple weeks' time, which is probably one of the most anticipated apps to probably ever launch on the iPad. Now, I'm not going to break all that down in today's video because there's a lot of stuff that we need to specifically focus on when it comes to the gaming performance. So be sure to subscribe for that one when we drop it in just a couple of weeks' time, and also give this video a like to give it help on the algorithm. Probably one of the biggest improvements when it comes to the new iPad is actually the placement of the camera. So back in the day, the main FaceTime camera was located on the left-hand side of the device, which meant when you were trying to do a FaceTime call, obviously the subject you'll be talking to would be in the middle of the screen, but you would either have to look to the left to actually look like you were looking at the person you're talking to, or you would be looking at them at the middle of the screen because obviously you want to see what they're up to. But it would look like you were looking completely opposite direction, like you were playing on your phone, or you were disengaging in the conversation. Now this is obviously fine for a casual phone call with somebody like family and friends, but if you were using this for work purposes, it looked incredibly rude on the call. Thankfully, this has now all been fixed. It's still the exact same 12-megapixel FaceTime camera with all the center stage features, which is great. So it means you can walk around the environment and the iPad will track you, which is quite useful in certain scenarios, especially with a whiteboard presentation. But now the webcam is located at the center of the top bar of the iPad, which has been a hugely requested feature for the eternity of time since the iPad basically came out. So now that means you can basically look directly at the center of the screen, and the webcam is in the same proximity as where your eyes are focused, so it does look like you're actually talking to the person and looking at the person on the other end of the call. Now, I'd say the new iPad is definitely worth it. I personally went for the 11-inch one. I think it's better value for money. The 13-inch is just so similar in form factor to just a 14-inch MacBook, and the price gets pretty high in regards to obviously speccing it out in comparable to obviously a full-on laptop and the types of apps you get access onto that. But the 11-inch iPad Pro, for the first time in that sort of iPad Pro range, you're not penalized in any way for going for that 11-inch. Usually if you get the 11-inch version, maybe the screen isn't as good or it's not the same refresh rate, like little silly things like that. But fundamentally, the actual iPad is exactly the same, and all that matters is really the amount of storage you get to dictate the actual chip inside of it. I guess the big question is, do you actually need the M4 processor? Personally, probably not. I never felt like M1 got fully maximized in the iPad, but the OLED screen, I think, makes this definitely worth it over the iPad Air with the new M2 chip in it. The iPad Air is a great value for money considering what you get, but it definitely lacks the brightness that the screen has, that this has. I've never been able to use an iPad in such a variety of locations with no stress at all, even with sunglasses on as well. Being able to see that screen. Now, if you want to see more Apple products, you should check out this video next. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.